Hi, Steve.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, just so you know, there is absolutely no way, zero chance that we're getting through today's discussion without me sounding like a grumpy old man.
Well, let me tell you there, sonny boy.
Welcome once again to Two Guys Talking About Records, a vinyl community podcast. Each week, we two guys get together. We talk about records. I really don't know how much more simplistic I can get than that, Steve.
Keep it simple just for me, okay?
There we go. My name's Jim, and I own a record store, but I collect.
And I'm Steve, and I'm a record collector, but don't own a record store.
Yeah, we're perfect here, back and forth. So today, I'm going to be, after looking at some of the stuff and talking ahead of time, we're going to talk about live music, concerts, and the expense to which you must expend to enjoy yourself these days.
It's getting rough. But
it is.
People keep going in record numbers.
And I'm going to, again, I'm gonna be that grumpy old guy. Get off my pine knob lawn seats.
Good luck on getting off those.
Oh, man, holy cow. But this is the Vinyl Community Podcast. Before we get to all of that goodness, we like to talk about our recent pickups. And I got a bone to pick with you on mine, but we'll get to those in just a second. What kind of goodies did you get this week?
Well, I went to my local radio Wasteland Records by way of mail. Okay?
There we go.
And so there were a few things from Record Store Day that I had wanted to pick up, and Jim was able to get them for me. And I've seen them out there up here, but I'm going to support my used to be local store. So we have Sonic Youth's here. Hits are for squares. It's like a greatest hits, but it's not necessarily. First off, it's Sonic Youth, so did they have any hits? But the other thing is different artists selected. This is what they want on the album. So, you have like Beck and Radiohead, Mike D, Flea, David Cross, Flaming Lips, a variety of different people said, here's what we want on that album. So it made it kind of interesting. I used to have an original of this sucker, but I forgot I even had it. I was logging it into Discogs. So, oh my God, look how much that thing's worth. Wow. Oh, well.
If you only still did.
Yep. And then Jim was able to get, this is from Record Store Day too. We'll take that out and see. It's kind of, it's still glossy. Wall of Voodoo. And this is one of their first EPs. And again, it's one I used to have, kind of forgot about it. When I bought it, I didn't like it that much because Wall of Voodoo was Mexican radio to me. And this is not Mexican radio. And so I go, oh, well, that's not the Wall of Voodoo I know. But now, 40 years later, I really liked it a lot. And one of the members of the VC, Vinyl Richie, had been telling me, you need to get that. So, peer pressure. So I got it. This might be a surprise for you, Jim.
Okay.
All right, let's see here. I forgot one of them. Oh, well, that's fine. I bought 2 Waylon Jennings albums.
Oh, man.
Yeah, this one, and I don't know I don't know where I put the other one. I've never really owned Waylon Jennings. It's from Vinyl Me Please. I'm trying to get rid of my credits. So, I liked them. This one was really good. Waylon Jennings. Okay, honky. Okay.
I think it's honky tonk.
It's in
the OBI is hiding it.
It was his first one that he finally broke away and could do his own thing. So it's kind of a rough and tumble affair. I liked it. Am I going to be a Waylon Jennings fan? Probably not. But I have a couple albums. I'm happy. Life is good.
You're going into VMP and you're using that credit.
Yep, got to use that. Then I had from Radio Wasteland Records. This was a different. It's Half Nelson.
Oh, yeah.
Jim had shown this, and not the cheapest album I've ever bought in the world, but that's the Sparks. And I didn't know about this till Jim was talking to me about it. The Sparks originally were called Half Nelson. And even the guy with the mustache, he doesn't have the Hitler mustache at the time. Well, there, yeah, look at that. He has like a porn star
bit.
mustache instead.
Oh, bow, chicka, wow.
Yeah, and long hair. Well, he trimmed all that, took care of all that. Yeah, it's the very first album from the Sparks, but it's called Half Nelson, and then they changed their name, and the title of this album became, From the Sparks. So
That's a tricky one to find in Discogs too, because it lists it as that release. So you've got this Sparks album, but then when you click on the specific release, it's under a band named Half Nelson.
yeah.
But glad they combined those in Discogs. Somebody was smart in looking at that. But
exactly.
Musically, how does that stack up to the weirder Sparks stuff?
It's pretty damn weird. There's this like, what? I mean, at first, the first time I'm going, okay, his falsetto isn't nearly as high. And I go, you know what? He's almost singing in a normal voice. By side two, that's totally blown away. And we were, just going to that super high falsetto. And some of it's, it isn't your, gosh, I want to relax. I'm going to put this album on. Probably not. This is more of a curiosity album.
Okay,
we'll call it that.
And it's up there on Discogs a little bit too, isn't it?
It is. It very, very, very much is because of the Half Nelson thing. Obviously, yeah. I used to have it in the original Sparks version of it, and it wasn't one. I brought back I think 3 Sparks albums I really wanted from the mid '70s. That was not on the list. And if it was the Sparks, I would not have bought it. But because of Half Nelson, I bought it. It's a collector thing, right?
It is a collector thing, yep.
Yeah. And the final 2, these came in from a friend of mine, Chance Concert Buddy. We've done broadcasts with him. He's been a good friend of this podcast, plus, our different channels. He sent me Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald, those 2 together on Verve. Again, an album I used to have. Really good. I don't have a lot of that stuff from the 50s and 60s anymore, just due to room. But I'm a big Louis Armstrong fan, and I do like Ella Fitzgerald, so that was nice to have. And he's seen I've been doing a lot of rap lately. It's late, 80s, early 90s rap, which is kind of where I really liked it. Snoop Dogg's album, Doggy Style. It was, just fun to have. I'm glad I got this one. And
very cool.
I got some more rap to show. I mean, it's just, there's certain ones. I had a lot of the CDs. By the mid 90s, I was kind of done with it. I wasn't enjoying it, what I had heard in the late 80s, early 90s. So that's mine, Jim. That was a lot. What about you?
Well, I got a lot, but not a lot of albums. First off, you mentioned peer pressure in the vinyl community.
Yep. Oh, it's terrible.
It's terrible. And on this podcast, it is as well. I would like to show you my copy of Punk Floyd, a tribute to Pink Floyd. You showed this last week, and I went and listened to it. And again, we had a discussion about this a couple of weeks. Well, before you moved, I think is when this was being issued. Not reissued, but issued. And we both said, nah, we don't really need it until you listen to it.
And what did you think?
I love it. I think it's absolutely fun. Like you said, I'm into odd enough cover tunes that this really hit home with me. The jaw wobble time that it just and UK subs doing Comfortably Numb.
God, that was good.
It is, but also the older stuff, the See Emily Play and the Lucifer Sam. The Nile song was actually, I think it was one of their old bluesy cuts from way back on some of the earlier stuff as well. But even the Angry Samoans, that's another brick of the wall part 2. All right, this is cool, and this is actually going to get played fairly often when I'm not annoying people.
Yeah, it was fun. It was. So there we go. We had our discussion about it. I don't think so. And well, look at that. Thank God someone sent one.
The thing is, too, I had to get a copy for the store so I can play this copy in, just in case the off chance somebody says, hey, that's cool. Is that for sale? I can say, yes, it is.
There you go.
And speaking of Pink Floyd, let's go back to the bootlegs. You know how we're suckers for that. I am, at least, as well.
Yeah.
I got this box set. It is a hefty 5 LP box set.
Wow.
called Pink Floyd, First and Last Bricks. It's in the wall performed in its entirety in California in 1980. And it's a fairly recent boot. I'm sorry, unofficial. But they did such a great job with the packaging on this. It's got a little card in there because this is a numbered release, and it says of 250. I'm going to go, yeah, right. Of this batch is 250. Whatever the case, I've got number 25 of 250 in this instance. It's got a really neat booklet that goes along with it. That's got all of the lyrics, and it's just got a lot of great artwork in here as well from the film. And so all of the lyrics are included in the booklet. And then, much to my surprise, the LPs, I knew that they were colored, but yeah, you get one other insert talking about the release and some little Pink Floyd stuff, and all of the vinyl, surprisingly, but very cool, white vinyl, but each label is different. So, but yeah, 5 LPs, and they're not shirking. I mean, this is a long concert. We're talking probably 2.5, 3 hours worth of music on this. Wow. All the way through, spread across those 5. Not cheap by any means. It is not cheap. And the big question you always have with unofficial bootlegs, Steve?
What's it sound like?
It's okay.
It's okay.
I'm happy that the packaging makes up for it. And as a Floyd collector, I'm gonna enjoy this. It's soundboard, so it's not audience recording. It's soundboard, and it's not terrible by any means. I mean, I've heard better, but I've also heard a lot worse. So if we were to say on a scale of 1 to 10 of bootleg quality, I would put this around a 7 or 8. Okay. So it's not great, but it's also not perfect like you're used to with some of these newer ones. And then because I just can't. I got another bootleg box set of Rush Different Stages Live. This is a 3 LP set, and what's bootlegable about this is the fact that this was never released on vinyl. So, what's that?
Bootlegable. I like that. What a great word.
Bootlegable. It's on different colored vinyl, but this has never been released on vinyl. It's been a CD, an official CD release for years, which is where they got the audio from, is my guess on this. But Rush has never sought to issue this on vinyl, yet pretty much all of their other live stuff is on vinyl. So this has been sweeping the Rush collectors and boot collectors for the past few weeks, and I was able to get a hold of one. I actually put in for 3 copies because I was going to have a couple for the store, and nope, you only get 1. They cut me down on that, so I guess I'll just have to keep that one until I can get some more. But it sounds good, but I mean, it's not audiophile because they did get that press off the CD quality audio is my guess. So, and then finally, do you know what the concept of a rescue pet is, like a rescue dog or a rescue cat?
Yes.
You go to an animal shelter or a humane society, and you essentially rescue a dog or a cat, and it becomes in your family. I think we need to start something called rescue albums, rescue records.
Okay.
Because this next one fits that description. This thing came in, I don't even remember when. It's been a little slower at the store, I think I told you. And so I've been going through some of the far back stuff, things that I get a hold of. And if it's not perfect or not suitable to go out, I set it aside, ultimately forget about it. Well, this one I had wanted, but when I got it, it was water damaged. It was warped. And I thought, man, this is a shame. But I rescued it. I rehabbed it. And I've got a copy of Me First and the Gimme Gimmes Blow in the Wind, talking about the punk covers that we were about the Pink Floyd. You can see that this does have some, let me call this up here. This does have some water damage along the bottom, some ripping and tearing in the front. You can tell it's a little warped in the back. The inner insert as well is a little water damaged, and the vinyl just on its own, when I got to it, it was actually fairly warped and not really playable. So I've got that record pie, that little pizza bake thing that we use occasionally here. And, I gave this a couple of bakes and it is now flat and playable. One of my successes, I'm running about 60% success rate on that record flattener. So, I mean, it's good for what it is, but if you've got a severe warp, it's not going to help. If you got edge warps, not much. But this was kind of a little ribbon warp from the water damage. And I'll be darned if it did okay and played it. So now it's not a terribly expensive album. So if I'd really, really wanted it, I could have found one.
Sure.
And I could have gotten a reissue as well. It's not even that old. We're talking, early 2000s, I think, on this. But this is all, you're familiar with Me First, right? They are essentially just they're a punk cover band.
CDs. Yeah.
Yeah. And the stuff on here I've had on my iPhone for a while. A cover of Dylan's "Blowing in the Wind" on here. Then you got "Who Put the Bomp" from the '50s tune. "Who Put the Bomp in the Bomp Shabomp Shabomp." "My Boyfriend's Back." "All My Lovin' is on here. "Stand by Your Man." San Francisco, and Different Drum, written by Michael Nesmith. And it's all just kick a punk versions of those. Yeah. So I rescued it. It's not in the best of shape, but it plays and it sounds good. So I'm happy with that one.
Well, God bless you for going out and taking care of that. Forget those cats and dogs. What about vinyl?
Rescue albums.
Yes.
Now, if you are curious of what some of this stuff sounds like, Steve and I do our best to describe it. Each week we will create and put up a Spotify playlist with sound samples, not samples, but actual cuts from the albums that we're talking about. You can find that in the description on the YouTube video on the channel here. Just look below in the description. It's also in the description of the podcast. If you're looking at it on Spotify, you can just scroll down. And heck, you're already on Spotify. Click on that. But do us a favor. Wait until the end of the podcast episode before you listen to those. Hate to have you miss something important that we're talking about.
That's right. Or at least the anticipation that maybe there will be something important.
Something worthwhile. You never knew. But just check out the music, and we'll put all of those up there as long as I can find them. I doubt I'm going to find that live Floyd, but you never know what's on there. I'm pretty sure the Rush cut is on there. We'll get that, but we'll go from there. Hey, before we get to the subject at hand, and this is not a recent ad, but just something very interesting that I wanted to show you. It came in a collection a little while ago. And this is one of those various artists sampler albums. It's called LP, ELPEA. See what they did there?
Yeah.
LP. This is an Island Records sampler album, and I forget the year, but this is going to be early 70s. A British import, and it has got music on here from the likes of, pull that out of here, Traffic, Sandy Denny, Head, Hands, and Feet, the Fairport Convention, Jethro Tull, Mountain is on here, Free, let's see, Cat Stevens, Mott the Hoople, Nick Drake. So it's a good 70s rock stuff on here. You can see that on here. But what's very notable about this, Steve, is that this is a gimmick album that came with a inside of a poly sleeve divided into two. So it's like 3 sheets of poly plastic. And on the lip, glued to this, let me zoom in on this one more time for folks to see. So you can see that the records were housed inside of these 2 pieces of poly, but then glued to the lip is a small piece of foam right to the edge. And so this billed itself as a self-cleaning record. So when you pulled the record out of the poly, it rubbed against that foam and cleaned off some dust and dirt that were on the record.
Right.
Neat concept, right?
Yeah. I'm going to do that to all my records now.
Well, I'm suspect of that, but hey, whatever. If it worked, it worked. But here's the problem. Being that this is now a 50-year-old record and had been sitting for probably the majority of that by the time I got it, the foam itself had, over the decades, embedded itself into the edge of the vinyl where it was touching. It was, you can't see that in there, but it actually ruined the outer edge of the vinyl. It's not playable. It just melded into foam and vinyl. So the first track, at least the first few seconds of the first track on each of the records, is not playable.
Okay.
So
wow.
I just thought that was it's a very interesting concept. I'm not going to keep this, but I also can't charge a ton for it because it's not really playable.
Well, but the thing is, if they get it, they never have to clean that record. They're good to
That's a
go.
good point.
So, it's worth charging some more money. It's going to save them on cleaning. Yeah.
There we go. One of the gimmicks that we talked about previously.
Yeah, we missed that one though.
Onward now to our subject at hand this week. And Steve, you went to a cool concert last week, didn't you?
I did. It was in a small venue, kind of getting toward downtown Denver, but not quite there. A bar was down below, and then on top, obviously, they had their bar, but they had a little concert venue. It was in a small venue by a group called Blushing, and it's a newer group. They're out of Austin, Texas. Shoegaze, dream pop. I've shown their albums because I'm a big fan of them. So they were coming to Denver, so I bought concert tickets, and I don't normally do that. I am not. I like concerts, Jim. I'm just too cheap to pay for what they want on some of that. I kind of think, how many record albums am I bypassing because I'm going to this concert? But these weren't bad. It was like $40 a ticket, and there's 3 bands, 2 local and Blushing. Only 150 people there. You could get right up by the stage. It was great. I really enjoyed it. Am I going to become a big concert goer? Probably not. I think I was the senior citizen there, but it was great. It was fun. It was exciting. Totally enjoyed it.
Just a quick side note to that, watching some of your video of that on your channel, and I knew it before, but man, they really emphasized the shoegaze, especially the guitar player. He sat most of the show while he was playing, just staring right down. I don't know if he's looking at his pedals and his effects, or if he just
that was kind of hitting them pedals and changing the effects and stuff. Yeah, very, very, very much so. And yeah, it definitely had that. And it's kind of the group is 2 couples. So it's what they do together. And after that show, they were on to Idaho for the next night, and then the following night, Seattle.
And I think you kind of struck on something important here. It was a smaller venue, more intimate, less people, versus the crowd of 50, 60,000 you would get at a stadium tour or something like that. Yeah. And I've been to both types of shows. I'm like you. I'm not nowadays, and this is where I'm going to start sounding like an old man. I'm not an avid concert goer anymore. I do enjoy live music, but I like it to be a little more low key. The last, and I won't call it the last big concert that I went to was Bob Seger, in one of his farewell tours down at Pine Knob just prior to the pandemic. I think it was 19-ish in there. The smaller stuff that I'd been to right around that same time, I saw They Might Be Giants in Detroit at St. Andrews Hall, which is not a huge venue. It's also not a $150, $200, 200 people, but that was still fairly expensive as well to go see that. And other than that, the stuff that I'm content with seeing are local artists playing in local venues and bars, or in downtown Midland throughout the summer here. They always have concerts, and they close off the streets. But concert, the price of tickets has gotten, I think, out of control. And I'm not going to kind of start spouting like I'm not a capitalist. I'm a small business person. So of course I'm into, earning money, but at that same time, I understand why some of these ticket prices have gone through the absolute roof from these big shows, even medium shows.
Yeah, it's ticket prices in the last 4 years have jumped almost 30% in price. And everything really came to a head a couple years ago when Taylor Swift went out, and Ticketmaster was going to take care of this, and they said everything would be okay. She had 3.5 million pre-orders.
Wow.
Think about that. 3.5 million. The system totally melted down. And 12 Swifties, 12 of them decided, we're suing Ticketmaster. And not only that, we're going to Washington, D.C. to complain. Now, these must have been Swifties that have really good moms and dads, probably congressmen, that had something, because the Justice Department jumped into this to say, it's kind of a monopoly because Ticketmaster is owned by Live Nation. Mm-hmm. Live Nation has contracts for like almost, I think, 400 venues that they have exclusivity, large venues. Then Ticketmaster has their contracts, again, part of Live Nation, to sell in 80% of those, or actually nationwide, 80% of all large venues has to be Ticketmaster.
Yep.
So they control this. And so things have come to a head now with antitrust, and part of it, then Biden goes, you know what? We have to see all the fees on here, because that's what they were finding is a ticket price was going up by 27%, and you didn't know it. You had no idea until you bought it, and then it comes out and you go, what is all of this? Well, it's our fees. And so by September, Ticketmaster says we will have the fees on there. Now they could say, well, we couldn't quite get it done in time yet, but they're being forced to do this, along with other businesses that rely on hidden fees to surprise you.
And one quick correction. You mentioned that the Swifties that came forward were probably the children of politicians.
Yeah.
I'm going to dispute that, because if truly they were, they would have gotten VIP tickets and gotten in for free at some
Okay.
I'm quite certain. That's just me. But no, the idea with the percentage jump in ticket prices, inflation, everything. I mean, everything has gone up. You know, the venues have got they've got their power, they've got their water, they've got their utilities, they've got payroll. Everything of that nature has gone up. But in what I'd read too, that the percentage of jump in ticket prices over the past several years has been marginally higher than the rate of inflation. So where everything else is creeping up here, and here, those jumped in. But that is because, as you were saying, because of the fees. Now, I do have a Taylor Swift. You want to see what this one is? We'll see current. This is as of mid-July. Here is what we're looking at with a Taylor Swift ticket. Now, I called up just Taylor Swift tickets in general, and these are coming through StubHub. And that is a legit seller, correct? These aren't scalp tickets.
StubHub is, it is a reseller. It is a reseller, but it's a legitimate reseller. Doesn't mean they're going to be cheap, but yeah, they are a second party.
So this is the Taylor Swift show coming up on the 1st of November, Friday night in Indianapolis at the Lucas Oil Stadium. So yeah, this is still a couple months away. And this is what StubHub is saying is available. Row 16, one ticket, $4,162. Row 13 in section 103. I'm not even sure where that would be. Oh, you can mouse over these. Okay, so the lower bowl, these things are $4,000. Floor, $4,000. $8,000 in the floor. Right up front, $6,000. So you can't tell me. I mean, obviously, if these are an aftermarket seller from StubHub, there's going to be some scalp activity coming into play here. But even then, holy cow.
And the thing is, it's the U.S. that has this problem with fees. In Europe, the concerts are cheaper because in fact, people are flying to Europe just to go see them. Now, they're still paying a lot because I think they're still getting them from secondhand dealers. But, I went in and I looked at, so what fees does Ticketmaster charge? I mean, okay, there's some fees, we get that, but I had to write these down because we have ticketing fees, service fees, convenience fees, platinum fees, price master fees, pre-order fees, facility charge fees, delivery fees, handling fees, payment processing fees. 27%, it all adds up to additional on top of that. All of that stuff. And it's just, so, it used to be, the venue would would go out and say, hey, I'll let you do the tickets and that. But in 1980, Ticketmaster says, you know what? We'll buy that contract and we'll just take care of it. And it allowed them the opportunity to add on lots of fees. Now, of course, they got to pay the venue because they're taking charge of all this. So you get your venue fee, and you got promoters, right? You have there's a variety of other things that go into it. But all that cost, of course, is passed on to the consumer with these fees. But to make more money, let's add more fees. So as you're trying to get your profit up, because Live Nation is it's on the stock market, so we got to help our stockholders add a fee. And yeah, it keeps going up, and they keep finding new ones to add.
Here is where I'm going to really sound like an old fuddy-duddy. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Somewhere in my office here, I do have a whole set of Rush tickets. I think we were looking to get them framed from my time since seeing them throughout the 80s and through the 90s. I couldn't find it this morning, but what I did find, and I did when I was younger, I went to a lot of shows, not a ton, but I did go to a lot of shows out of high school. And I do have a ticket stub here from when I saw Def Leppard, and I saw them at a time where the drummer had both arms. So, I'm dating myself. This is my ticket. It came from Brass Ring, which was a big promoter, not so much a distributor of tickets, but the Brass Ring Promotions and Convenient Ticket Company presents Def Leppard at the Joe Louis Arena, June 15th, 1983, Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Ticket price, if you can see it on here, is $11. And it was a good show. I think I saw Def Leppard, AC/DC down there, a lot of that heavy rock stuff, and there was maybe $12, $15 to go see them in the 80s. And yeah, there was there isn't even a service charge. There's a $1 service charge that appears on that ticket as well. And this is just me being a curmudgeon. I know prices have gone up. Back then I probably paid maybe $1.15 a gallon for gas to get down to Detroit to see them. So now, we're pushing that $3.50, $4. Everything's more expensive, but the fees on top of it they're going crazy through the roof.
The fees is how you make it. Yep.
The idea, though, too, I think that there's been a tremendous paradigm shift in why concerts, why they have to charge that. Now, before the internet, and here again, we put on that old fuddy-duddy hat, before the internet, to get this ticket, I would have to go stand in line, and I think probably at a Sears store, or drive to the venue in Detroit to get the ticket a couple months ahead of time. You stood in line or you picked it up from a seller. I think Sears, as I remember, Sears used to sell them. They had a ticket counter where you could get tickets to venues in Detroit. And I grew up in the Lansing area. And in Lansing, you'd go to get them as well, or you'd drive to the venue. Pre-internet, that's what you'd have to do. You'd have to go. You couldn't get them any other way. Somebody in your group would have to go down and they would buy the clutch of tickets that you'd want and bring back, and everybody would pay them off for that. But also at that time, live music was the way that artists, they didn't make money from the concerts so much. They made money from record sales based upon their fans buying stuff after they saw the concerts. And again, I'll go to Rush. They're a great prime example of this, because after their initial hit in '74 with Working Man, which got a lot of radio airplay, Rush didn't get much radio airplay after that for the next couple of albums. And it was solely on the effort that they did for constant touring. And I'm talking constant touring, building a loyal fan base who then went out and bought their records that they were able to survive until they get to their more radio-friendly stuff with Permanent Waves in 1980. So you're talking 5-6 years of just hard work, selling records the old-fashioned way by playing them, because they weren't getting airplay. They were not getting radio airplay like they did with the first record. And any other band you could talk to that way too. You'd get the radio airplay and you would play your concerts, and that's how you sold records. That's how you made your money. Nowadays, this stuff called streaming, Apple Play, Spotify, YouTube, all of this music is so readily available that, people are still buying records. And again, I'm thankful for that, because this is what I do, obviously. But that's not how they make their money. So they have to make the money for the bands, and that's where their partially is coming from. And I know the venues and Ticketmaster and such, they make a ton of money on those fees, but the artists are relying on their live shows to make money as well.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. You have a chance here to go to Vegas, to Caesars, to see Adele. How much would you pay to go see Adele?
I'm not a fan, so I would just have to hope that somebody standing on the street would say, "Hey, buddy, you want an Adele ticket?"
Ah, someone paid $40,000. And it's a residency.
Yeah.
It isn't like it's, one
Yeah.
day and we're gone. A residency. The average medium price for Adele at Caesars is $1,000.
And again, what are you paying for? You're paying for the venue, the convenience of going there to see her. But yeah, if it's a residency, you wait a couple days, you can go again.
Yeah, yeah. But it's so obviously neither of us we have a hard time, and you know what, we're not made of money. Okay, we don't have, oh man, hey honey, the closet's full of money again, we got to go do something with it. So well, you want to go spend 40,000 on a concert? Well, why not? Let's get rid of this. We don't have that issue. So but for some, you got disposable income, and instead of going out and helping buy a cat or a dog orphan, and they're orphaned, let's go do this. It's what people like, and they're willing to. I mean, I had this, Jim, the 10 hottest concerts, the medium price for this summer. Now this is in the US. Again, Taylor Swift's not on this list because she's starting the American concerts, so she's been in Europe. Okay.
Yep.
Though someone paid $13,000 for a concert in Europe for one of her tickets. That must have been, they must really like their daughter. But Olivia Rodrigo right now, her medium price is $963. She leads. Then it goes to Bruno Mars at $619. Morgan, was it Waller, you said?
Morgan Wallen.
Yeah, Wallen, $562. Then comes Pearl Jam, average medium price, $523. Noah Khan, $462. Los Bucas, beats me, but they can get $448. Rolling Stones then comes in at $430, and I would have thought that would have been higher.
Me too. I would think so as well. So,
but they're billionaires, so it doesn't matter. And then Garth Brooks at $426, medium price. But those prices, in other countries you don't see because there's more regulation on trying to cash grab through fees and stuff like that.
One of the other things to consider too, and I remember last year when Taylor Swift was sweeping through the U.S., some of our customers were talking about how they were going down to Chicago to see Taylor Swift at this series of shows down there. On top of the concert fees, the transportation to get yourself there, you're going to have other opportunistic support things happening. Hotel fees tripled around the concert venue because it's not like you can just drive and park on the street like St. Andrews in Detroit or pay there, but you're paying parking. If you're driving to these, you're paying up to $50 to $60 to $75, $100 for parking in some instances. Mm-hmm. That's the same thing with sports. If you go see a football game in Detroit or a baseball game, you're paying exorbitant fees to park somewhere near in a safe, well-lit area. But yeah, hotel fees, parking, food all around there, all of that stuff is being jacked up around these bigger events. So you've got that to consider as well. It's not just the ticket prices.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, please.
When the thing, especially with these resellers, and there's a lot of resellers. There's some that are not legitimate. If they don't give you a money back guarantee and stuff like that, you don't want to touch it. But a reseller is the ultimate showing of what supply and demand will do. Yeah. If I put that ticket up for $1,000, maybe it's a $200 ticket, I'm going to put up for $1,000 and people are going to buy it. Well, am I going to lose any sleep at night? No, because someone said I'll buy it for it. I mean, it is the ultimate on what consumerism and capitalism is all about. Yep. I'm going to throw out this. It's up to you. And then it sells out and they go, you know what? Next time, let's push it up again because obviously we can get more.
And that really is artist dependent too, obviously. Scalpers have always been around. I mean, always. When I would go to the concerts that I did in the 80s, you would see people standing outside the venues. Hey, you want a ticket? You want a ticket? I got a ticket. I got a ticket here. And you'd pay maybe $10, $20 over. Yeah. you're just hoping that it is legit. But back then you had physical tickets that were hard to do. Now everything, you don't even get a ticket. In fact, I think you have to pay extra if you want a physical copy of the ticket to hold on to. Otherwise, it's all just on your phone and you're scanning a QR code. I'm going to get a t-shirt, by the way. It says, no, I will not scan your QR code. Sincerely, Gen X. So I'm going to have one of those made just in case. Now, let's talk about smaller, and I'm not going to say Pine Knob is a smaller venue, but that is what I've grown up with. Pine Knob down in Clarkston, Michigan, a couple of hours south of here, just north of Detroit, was really the go-to place for concerts. I saw a lot of stuff there over my time. And let me call up the current Pine Knob, and let's just take a quick look, if we could, Steve, of what is out there. So here's Pine Knob and their upcoming schedule. And let's see how some of these compare with what we're doing. So let's see. Did you mention Nail Horan on there as well?
No.
Nope. No. Okay. It wasn't Rodrigo, but so down there, we're looking tickets, $213, $220. This is all center in the pavilion. For those of you unfamiliar with Pine Knob, it is a bowl, if you will, with lawn seats around the outside and a pavilion. The lawn seats aren't this small. It extends way up there. But there's a pavilion that's covered in the event of rain, but those tend to be a little more expensive. So you got them in the couple $100 range. Other ones, okay, this one coming up on July 21st, Steve. It's the group Train, REO Speedwagon, and Yacht Rock Review. That's a band named Yacht Rock Review. What do you think those are going for?
I'd spend $50, $60.
Yacht Rock Review in the pavilion, front row, first section, center stage, $1,204 for REO Speedwagon and Yacht Rock Review. And then backing up the center, you're still talking $100, $200, and through here, off to the side, $200, $150, $170. General admission lawn, which is, if you're going to sit at Pine Knob and you want to be cheap, $50 a ticket in the lawn.
Wow.
For a Yacht Rock Review and REO Speedwagon, along with Train.
And Jim, do you think that includes service fees, or this is without service fees?
I don't know for certain. I'm not going to hit purchase on here just in case.
Come on, I need to know.
Barbie the movie in concert. Here's one. Okay, here's one coming up on July 16th. Alanis Morissette, Joan Jett, and the Blackhearts, and Morgan Wade. Tickets for that one. Let's see here. Center, $600, $300 up the center, off to the side, $700. Side stage pavilion. It's all over the place. And this is coming from the Pine Knob, something called Ticket Squeeze, which is obviously their vendor. Now here's the thing. Look at this. Lawn seats at Pine Knob for Joan Jett and Alanis Morissette, $125 for lawn seats.
Wow.
On there as well. And I don't know, you have you ever been to Pine Knob?
I have. Someone sent me free tickets to see Steely Dan out there. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's
the lawn.
I've never been out there.
The lawn seats are cool, but you can't bring in chairs of your own. You've got to either rent them there, or you got to have you can bring them in. You've got to get those real low ones.
The beach chairs
sit on the ground. Yeah, beach chairs where you sit on, or you sit on a blanket. And if it rains, it gets a little slick. Now, I took my daughter Katie to Pine Knob. She's several years back to see Mumford and Sons. They had seats way up in the front. I'm like, I'm just going to get lawn. I don't really care. And I hung way in the back. Everybody thought I was a cop for some reason because I was just kind of hanging on the backside. So yeah, that's kind of what you're looking at. Even with a venue like Pine Knob, an open air under there, you're getting some. They've got some decent shows coming up. Sammy Hagar and Loverboy. Barbie. Okay, I'm curious. Are you curious? Barbie the movie in concert.
Yeah.
Sorry, this event has expired. I don't know what that means. So apparently you can't get tickets to see Barbie in concert, Steve. I'm sorry.
Wow. Okay. On secondary market, you can.
So this leads me to a question as we're kind of coming down the tail end here. Hypothetically speaking, Steve, if for some reason there was some sort of time travel sci-fi involved here, and resurrection capabilities, and you could go see the Velvet Underground of old,
Yeah.
but performing today in a modern venue with modern equipment and modern show. What would you pay? I mean, would you pay $1,000 to see something like that? 1,000, 2,000? Would you pay 500?
I couldn't justify it. I just, I would love to. It would just like be, I'd wait for someone to put it on damn YouTube so I could watch it. For me, it's not justifiable because then I have to pull from something else that I do, which would include being buying vinyl records from Radio Wasteland.
Thanks.
So well, I can't do that. I mean, what about you? I mean, how much would you, like to, like to see Rush again? I mean, what would you?
I mean, that's a tough question. The last time I saw Rush was on their R40 tour, their last tour, and I took the kids actually, and I think we paid around $100 a piece to go see them down at the Palace, and they were in the upper bowl seats, even in through there. And I thought that was expensive. And,
Yeah.
I don't know, even to see the Rush of old, I would still be kind of grumpy about it. I probably wouldn't pay more than $100 a ticket.
Yeah.
There's no way, because you look at something like $2,000, and with the cost of records going up, I mean, how many records? You probably buy 20 records.
Yeah. I mean, it really comes down to the collector in you that says that. But for some, it is the experience. There's channels I watch, and they just concert after concert because it's what they love. They take their kids to it. It is their passion. There's a guy down in Detroit, Martin Jones. He goes to every little venue, all the punk ones, and he gets all his albums signed. And it's the excitement of it. But when it comes to paying these high prices, I mean, even Red Rocks, the average ticket price at Red Rocks is only $64. And that's a premier price. Yeah. But I mean, it's open seating. You get it, you go wherever, but then the fees are $24 added on to that. So there you go. It's a third of the total price.
But again, I'm not knocking people who want to go and spend, because that is, but for those that complain, if they're going to complain about the prices of tickets, I would say do what you and I do. Don't go.
Yeah.
Enjoy the vinyl. Enjoy the YouTube videos of them. It's like going to a football game. We'd gone to see a few times. We'd see the Green Bay Packers playing in Green Bay. We saw them play in Detroit once as well. My family was Packer fans. But where you sit in the January cold in Green Bay is an experience and a half, and I loved it, but I don't know as if I'd ever do it again, because we did it. We did it that once, and your view is much better with the television. I understand it's not the same as seeing it live.
Yeah.
Seeing Rush live, and I think I've got maybe 12 Rush concerts under my belt, which may seem like a lot, but there are people that are far up above me as hundreds and hundreds of shows. It's an experience that I love and I would cherish forever, but it's not one that I don't know as if I could repeat, because at this stage in my life, I don't know as if it could be repeated as when it was when I was younger.
Yeah, it's like an adrenaline rush almost, and there it is. This person, and I said, hey, I don't care how far back I'm there. I didn't get a cool T-shirt too, but now I think as you get older, sometimes we justify things for it, but you can't say it for everyone. If they have the income, it just doesn't. You know what? Let's go. Let's fly and let's go do it. Like the person who, for $13,000, they bought their Taylor Swift tickets and flew over to Denmark. Yep. They had it. Okay.
And that's the experience they want to live. Then more power to them.
Exactly.
I'm not faulting anyone for how they wish to spend their hard-earned money, as long as they stop by the store and pick up a record or two, right? Afterwards. No, I'm sorry. I had to throw that in, but I don't know. Prices are not going to come down. You've worked retail for a long time too. Once they go up, they will not go back down. We've talked about that with records too.
Exactly. They said, after the pandemic, we had to raise prices to make up for what we lost during the pandemic. But they didn't say, and by the way, they'll stay up there to keep going.
Something eventually, I think we'll have to give. I think maybe by the time all of these are the holograms or residency in Vegas,
Yes. Yes.
Maybe, but even then, I meant to check the prices of the ABBA holograms, but I can't see them being less than $100 each anyway.
Oh boy, just I wouldn't bet on it because people get crazy.
Well, and then you look at the technology, and this I know we said we're wrapping up, but now I just thought of something else here kicking
Yeah.
in. Somebody had mentioned the other day that they had seen U2 in Las Vegas at the Sphere, and if you're unfamiliar with the Sphere, is that giant thing that's LED inside and out.
Mhm.
Well, it's projection screen, the high technology. I'd heard the place is losing money because obviously it's too expensive to
Yeah.
make something like that. But they had mentioned that they'd heard or read somewhere that Roger Waters was in talks with the Sphere to bring a production of The Wall live to that.
Shocker.
It would be, I mean, that would be a spectacle and a half, but
Mhm.
you can only imagine these days. I mean, Roger right now. Well, let's set his other issues aside. That won't be cheap, no matter
No.
what you think of.
Nope. Super expensive, extreme expensive. And I think any kind of concert in there, definitely there is a much bigger charge. It is the experience though. Again, it would be awesome to go see and to be in there, but I think for us it comes down to, can we justify it?
Yeah. Not like there's anything else to spend money on Vegas City either. Yeah. So all right. So, folks, where do you sit on this? I mean, live music, we all love it. I love it. I wish I could go more, but I can't really justify it right now. But we'd like to know what you think. I mean, are you an avid concert goer, or do you stick specifically to certain acts? I want to see just this act, and I'll do whatever it takes to see this act live for as long as they can perform, Buddy Guy aside.
Yes.
But yeah, let us know what you think. Head over to the comment section on our Facebook page and do that. You can comment on the YouTube channel as well. Steve and I do see them. We attempt to answer as many as possible, but we'll go from there. So any final thoughts, Steve?
No, it's all about what you want to do and what makes you happy. That's the beauty of music. What does make you happy? And for some, it's that experience, and that's great. And then there's just the cheapskates. Hi, Jim.
Older farts like you and I. Hi, Steve.
Yep.
I'll say it again. I'm at Pine Knob. Get off my lawn. See.
Yep.
There we go. All right, you folks have a great week. Thank you so much for checking out Two Guys Talking About Records, a Vinyl Community podcast. My name's Jim. I love live music, but I'm just not going to do it. But I own a record store as well, so I'm kind of cool with that.
And I'm Steve, and yeah, live music's cool, but I'm cheap.
Have a good week, Steve. We'll talk to you later.
Yep. Bye.